how I sabotaged my own success. I'll never forget the night I opened my email and saw the subject line, "Congratulations, we're thrilled to offer you." My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. This was it, the dream opportunity I had been working toward for years, the position I told everyone I wanted, the one that meant I had finally made it. And then, somehow, I destroyed it. Not because I wasn't qualified, not because they changed their minds. I destroyed it with my own hands, my own words, my own fear. I typed a single, reckless email reply, hit send without thinking, and within hours, the offer was gone. Just like that. Even now, months later, I still replay that moment. The shock, the silence, the way the future I thought I was stepping into just vanished. And what's worse, I can't even blame anyone else. It was me. Only me. How could I do that to myself? That's the part I can't shake, the part that keeps me awake at night. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I got to the point where I had everything I ever wanted within reach, and then let it slip away. I grew up in a small town where people didn't dream big. You worked your job, paid your bills, maybe raised a family, and that was enough. But I always wanted more. I used to spend hours imagining myself in the city, working at some big company, proving to everyone that I wasn't just another nobody from a place no one cared about. So I worked, harder than anyone else I knew. While my friends were out at parties, I was home, teaching myself new skills, staying up late finishing projects, building a portfolio I thought would never be good enough. Every rejection, every sorry, we've gone with another candidate, just pushed me harder. And finally, after years of grinding, I got noticed. I made it through interviews that felt like interrogations, survived test assignments that chewed up my weekends, and when I finally got the call that they wanted me, it felt unreal. But here's the thing no one tells you. Sometimes success feels scarier than failure, and I didn't know how to handle that fear. At first it was little things, second-guessing myself, wondering if I had lied my way into the job, wondering how long it would take before they realized I wasn't good enough. I laughed it off with friends, saying things like, "Imposter syndrome is killing me," but deep down it wasn't a joke. It was a constant hum in the back of my mind, telling me I didn't deserve this. That hum grew louder every day until it drowned out everything else. And that's when I made the choice. The stupid, reckless choice that ended it all. I hit send on something I should never have written, something I couldn't take back. And the very next morning, the phone rang. The phone rang at exactly 9:03 a.m. I remember staring at the screen, seeing the company's name flash and feeling my stomach drop straight through the floor. My chest tightened so hard it felt like I couldn't breathe. I knew. Even before I picked up, I knew. I forced myself to answer, trying to sound casual like nothing was wrong, but the voice on the other end was clipped, professional, too careful. "Hi, this is Jenna from recruiting. We received your email last night." Silence. That pause, it was worse than yelling. I stumbled over my words. "Oh, yes, about that." She cut me off. "We just wanted to clarify if that was your final decision." Final decision. The phrase made my blood run cold. I tried to explain, tried to backpedal, but my brain was a mess. The truth was, in a fit of panic the night before, I had written something like, "I don't think I'm the right fit for this role after all. I appreciate the offer, but I may need to step back." It wasn't even true. I wanted the job more than anything, but I had spiraled into fear. Fear of moving, fear of failing, fear of being found out. So I told myself I was just buying time, that I'd explain it later, that they'd understand. But companies don't play those games. Jenna's voice stayed steady, but I could hear the finality in it. "Thank you for letting us know. We'll proceed with other candidates." And just like that, the line went dead. I sat there, frozen. The phone slipping out of my hand, my ears ringing. It was like the world tilted sideways. I had spent years building toward this moment, and it was gone. Not stolen from me, not taken unfairly. I had handed it away like it meant nothing. The worst part? I couldn't even tell anyone. My parents, who had bragged to every relative about my big break, my friends who cheered me on after every rejection, I couldn't face them, so I lied. I told everyone the company had decided to go in another direction. No one questioned it. They just patted my back, told me it wasn't my fault, that something better would come along, and every time they said it, guilt pressed down on me heavier, because deep down I knew this wasn't the company's fault. It was mine. But shame has a way of keeping you silent. For weeks, I kept up the lie, smiling when people asked about interviews, nodding when my mom told her friends I'd bounce back. But at night, when it was just me in the silence, I replayed that moment. The email, the phone call, the way I had slammed the door shut on myself. And just when I thought the weight of it couldn't crush me more, something else happened. Something that made the whole situation spiral further than I could have imagined. It started with another email. The subject line read, "Regarding your withdrawal." My heart skipped. For a second, stupid hope flickered inside me. Maybe they were giving me another chance? Maybe I could explain. Maybe it wasn't too late. But when I opened it, my stomach turned to ice. The email wasn't from recruitment this time. It was from the hiring manager himself. The man who had sat across from me in that final interview. The one who had said, "We see a lot of potential in you." His message was short. Too short. "We respect your decision to decline. Just for clarity, once we retracted other candidates, it was under the impression you were committed. This has caused a setback in our process. Please be more certain before accepting future offers." I read it 3 times. Each word cut deeper. Not only had I ruined my own chance, but I had wasted their time. I had messed with their process. They had trusted me, and I had thrown it away with a few careless sentences typed in a moment of fear. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. That's when panic fully set in, because suddenly it wasn't just about the lost job anymore. It was about my reputation. What if they remembered me as the flaky one? What if my name was blacklisted? What if this industry, small as it was, whispered about me? My chest felt like it was caving in. For the next few days, paranoia ruled me. Every time my inbox pinged, my heart stopped. Every LinkedIn notification felt like it was mocking me. I kept thinking, what if this follows me forever? I didn't tell a soul. Outwardly, I pretended life was fine. I kept applying to other places, showing up to gatherings, smiling when people asked if I'd heard back yet. Inside, though, I was unraveling. And here's where the sabotage deepened. Instead of using this as fuel to be sharper, to be smarter, I started avoiding opportunities. Every time I saw a posting that looked like the one, my brain whispered, "You'll just screw it up again." So, I didn't apply. Or if I did, I'd never followed through. I'd half write cover letters and leave them unfinished. I'd tell myself, I'll submit tomorrow. And tomorrow never came. Weeks slipped into months. And then something happened that made the weight of my failure almost unbearable. At a family dinner, my cousin announced she had just landed a role at, of all places, the same company that had rejected me. She beamed, talking about the onboarding process, how excited she was, how welcoming everyone had been. Everyone clapped. Everyone cheered. And I smiled through it, my insides burning. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, and just stared at my reflection. My cousin had stepped into the life that should have been mine. She hadn't sabotaged herself. She hadn't written that cursed email. She had just walked forward, while I had tripped myself on purpose. And it hit me with sick clarity. I wasn't just failing. I was choosing to fail. That realization was so heavy it made my knees shake. But instead of pulling me out, it dragged me deeper. Because once you start believing you're your own worst enemy, every step forward feels like another chance to betray yourself. And the more I pulled away from opportunities, the more I started sabotaging other parts of my life too. That's when things started to collapse outside of work. When you destroy one part of your life, it doesn't stay contained. It leaks, it spills, and before you know it, it infects everything else. That's exactly what happened to me. At first, it was just my career. I told myself, fine, maybe that job wasn't meant for me. I'll try again later. But later never came. And in the meantime, the poison of self-doubt spread. I started missing deadlines at my part-time job. Little things at first, forgetting to send a file, showing up late, zoning out during meetings. But the guilt stacked up. My boss pulled me aside one afternoon, concerned in her voice. "Is everything okay with you? You don't seem like yourself." I nodded, lied, said I was just tired, but inside I was screaming. Because I wasn't myself. I didn't even know who myself was anymore. Friends noticed too. I stopped showing up to hangouts, stopped answering texts right away. When they'd ask what was wrong, I'd say, "I'm just busy." But really, I couldn't stand sitting across from people who were moving forward while I was frozen in place. The spiral tightened when my cousin, the one who got hired at the company I lost, started posting pictures online of her new life. Smiling with her team, sharing snaps of her office, her ID badge, the little coffee shop near work. Each post was like a punch to my chest. I muted her. Then I muted half my feed. But muting them didn't mute the voice in my head reminding me that could have been you. I wish I could say I handled it with grace. I didn't. I got bitter. When friends celebrated wins, I smiled, but secretly I thought, why them? Why not me? That ugly thought scared me because I had never been jealous like that before. And then came the night I snapped. It was late, around midnight. I couldn't sleep, so I scrolled through my inbox. Buried under newsletters and spam, I saw the last email thread from the company, the one where I ruined everything. Against my better judgment, I opened it. I read the hiring manager's words again. Please be more certain before accepting future offers. Something inside me cracked. I copied the email and pasted it into a blank draft. My fingers hovered, trembling, and then, without even realizing, I started typing back a furious reply. Long, messy paragraphs about how the pressure had been too much, how maybe they should have supported me instead of cutting me off, how it wasn't fair. I wasn't going to send it. I told myself it was just venting, but somewhere between rage and despair, I hit send. The second I did, my stomach turned. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. The next morning, the reply came. It wasn't long, just one cold line. We know we made the right decision. Reading it was like being punched in the throat. Not only had I destroyed my shot months ago, now I had officially branded myself a fool in their eyes. There was no coming back from this. And that's when everything inside me went quiet. No more panic, no more racing thoughts, just a heavy, empty silence. I realized I wasn't just sabotaging opportunities anymore. I was sabotaging myself, my name, my future, my relationships, everything. And then the fallout hit harder than I expected. Because soon, people in my personal life began to see cracks I couldn't hide anymore. It started small, like hairline cracks in a glass, but cracks spread. The night everything collapsed, I was at dinner with my parents. They'd invited me over, made my favorite meal, clearly trying to check in without making it obvious. My mom asked about my applications, and I repeated the same old line, I'm still waiting to hear back, but she didn't buy it this time. She tilted her head, looked at me with those eyes that always seemed to see straight through me. You've been saying that for months. What's really going on? And something inside me snapped. I broke down right there at the table. Tears I had been swallowing for weeks came flooding out. I admitted it all. How I had ruined the job, how I had lied about why it didn't work out, how I had spiraled deeper and deeper, how I couldn't stop sabotaging myself even when I wanted to. The room went silent. My dad put down his fork. My mom just stared, her mouth slightly open. For the first time, I saw disappointment in their eyes. Not anger, not pity, disappointment. And it crushed me. Why didn't you just tell us? My dad asked quietly. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want them to see me as a failure. Because I couldn't even admit to myself how badly I'd wrecked my own chances. But all I could do was shrug through the tears. That night, everything between us shifted. My parents tried to comfort me, but something had changed. The trust was fractured. They didn't brag about me anymore. They didn't ask as many questions. And in some ways, that hurt worse than their disappointment. The fallout didn't stop there. Friends noticed I had withdrawn completely. One by one, they stopped inviting me out. When they did text, I often ignored it. Eventually, the texts stopped altogether. My circle shrank to nothing. And then came the worst blow of all. My cousin, the one working at the company, found out the truth. I don't know how. Maybe my parents let something slip. Maybe my own behavior gave it away. But one day, she called me. Her voice wasn't cruel, but it was sharp. Why didn't you just say you weren't ready? You didn't have to make it harder for everyone else. Her words cut deeper than she knew, because she was right. I hadn't just ruined myself. I had made things harder for others too, and hearing her say it out loud was unbearable. That night, alone in my apartment, I sat in the dark replaying everything. The moment I hit send on that email, the moment I lied to my parents, the moment I sent that angry message, every choice had been mine. That's the sickest part of self-sabotage. It isn't bad luck. It isn't someone else's fault. It's you. And as I sat there, I realized something chilling. I wasn't afraid of failing anymore. I was afraid of succeeding, because success meant responsibility, expectation, and the chance to mess up even bigger. So maybe, deep down, I had destroyed my own future on purpose. And now I was standing in the rubble, no one left to blame but myself. Months later, I got a new email. Same company, same logo, same address line. For a heartbeat, hope surged. Maybe they were giving me another shot. Maybe someone had noticed me again. But when I clicked it open, my blood ran cold. It wasn't an offer. It wasn't even professional. It was just the original email I had sent, forwarded back to me, with 3 words typed underneath. You did this.